court's aware the parties have a daughter age 15. She's in high school in the Andover school. She has to get ready for school by herself and go out and wait for the bus. After school, the child's still at home by herself. So we don't think that should be appropriate.
Shouldn't be any reason why she can't, at 15, stay at home by herself. Mr. Mantla, it's your motion, so you may proceed with the hearing at this time.
May it please the court, the first legal issue is custody and parenting time. As the court's aware, the parties have a daughter, Nara, age 15. She's in high school in the Andover School District. She doesn't have any siblings that are minors anymore, so she's basically at home by herself. If one of the parents isn't there, which is going to be an issue we're going to talk about. And the current ex parte order is shared residency with a 2-5 schedule, so every other weekend for each parent, and then each parent has 2 designated weeknights every week. And we're asking for the court to modify the ex parte temporary order so that dad has parenting time every other weekend from Friday at 5:30 to Sunday at 8 p.m. and then 1 weeknight per week from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. And there's a couple issues. I think the biggest issues coming up is summer. So child's not she's in high school. She doesn't have she's going to be at home during the summer. And my client is a cook in the Andover School District, and so she's not going to work this summer. So she needs to have primary residency this summer. We're asking for the whole year, but I mean certainly this summer. And that's how it's historically been the last several years. 5 years ago, they were in San Antonio, and my client was a stay-at-home mom, and so we have that exhibit in our notebook. Let's see if I can find it here.
Okay, pause. Here's where it gets interesting. Dad is making the official motion, which means the court is about to hear his side. Quick legal note. Whoever brings a motion carries a burden of proof. Translation? Dad has to convince the judge that the current parenting schedule isn't working, and that his new proposal is better for their daughter.
So, since she's been in Andover, does she, I don't know what kind of work she would do during the summer unless there was some summer school as a cook, but is she ordinarily always off during the summer?
Yes, yeah. So when they were in San Antonio, I'll just give a history here. They moved to Wichita. It'll be 2 years ago this July. And so before that, they were in San Antonio, and she was a stay-at-home mom. And then when they moved here 2 years ago, she continued that. And then it was just 2 months. And so 2 months into last year, she took this job as a cook. And so she's historically been a stay-at-home mom, hasn't worked in the summer, and the child's 15, so she needs someone to watch her. She doesn't drive yet, so she still needs a parent overseeing her during the summer. She doesn't have anybody in the house with her, so she'd just be by herself if both parents are working. She can't just be. We don't think she should be at home by herself without any siblings or something to do. So the plan is always, my client always watches her during the summer. That's historically how it's worked, and that's why that. In that exhibit, we have that VA. It's that documentation from the that exhibit L is of Larry, and this was when they were in San Antonio. It's a representation by petitioner that the respondent provides child care free of charge, and so that's kind of just to show the court the history here. That's what's been going on, and there's been issues not only with this during the school year now. There's been issues with the child texting mom while at dad's house and asking for her to get her stuff. And so that's another issue here. And I'm going to talk about that.
Let me ask before we go any further, what is your client's educational background?
Do you have any college?
No.
So have you graduated high school?
Yeah.
She's graduated high school, but she doesn't have any college education.
Whoa, photos is evidence. This is where family court cases start to feel like detective stories. Mom's basically documenting every time she had to step in when dad wasn't home. Question for you. Do you think these receipts help her case, or does it look more like she's keeping tabs on dad? Let me know what side you're on.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So there's issues before school and after school with the current order under dad's time because dad has to go to work at 5:30 a.m. And so the child is just at home by herself. She has to get ready for school by herself and go out and wait for the bus. And, we're going to talk about, she has a history of having panic attacks, and she's at home by herself. So she really needs to have a parent there with her she needs that emotional support to get her, a good start to the day. And then after school, dad will often go to the gym, and then the child's at home. And so she's texting mom I think there was one instance where she has to get feminine care products, and we've got in our exhibits photos of mom driving to the marital residence. That's Exhibit J. So the first one is on February 7th, and that's at 3:46 p.m. And there's a house with a blue car, and that's a marital residence. And so mom is just documenting, hey, dad's not here, and I'm driving to the house because the child's asking for something. And that's a Friday. And so she asked for feminine care products that day. The next photo is on March 3rd at 5:46 p.m. And so dad drives a pickup truck, and it's not in the driveway, and that's where he parks it. And so my client's documenting that he's not at home. And so Monday, March 3rd, that's the next photo at 5:46 p.m. On Mondays, mom drops off the child's luggage bag because she drives the school bus to school. She can't take her clothes and all that in a bag. So she's been dropping it off on Mondays. And so she's just documenting that the child's at home by herself without dad, and the child's there to meet her at the door, obviously, that type of thing. The next one, it says today on there. That was taken March 24th. That's at 3:25 p.m. Mom's dropping off luggage, and then my client says dad was still at work at 6 p.m. So there's issues where after school, the child's still at home by herself. So we don't think that should be appropriate. My client's documented that there's been multiple days in January when the first order was first started that dad was home late and child's having to figure out what to do for dinner. She doesn't know what to eat for dinner. On the 21st, we have a text message in our exhibits where dad says, Exhibit K, dad says, hey, you can pick up Nara, but please be sure to bring her by 9 o'clock. That was his day for parenting time, but he had to work late. And my client had to actually drive to the military base and get his sergeant involved to make this happen because she was so worried about her being home all evening by herself. So that's really the issue here is
there shouldn't be any reason why she can't at 15 stay at home by herself. Although at 15, I don't think it's the wisest thing for a child to be home a lot by themselves and not their activities be supervised. And I don't know, they didn't seem to indicate they were aware of these anxiety fear issues, but I would imagine the breakup of her parents have certainly caused her some angst, and that a counselor can hopefully help with that. But I mean, we're not going to get a situation. I agree. If he's swinging shifts.
Here's a big moment. The judge is drawing a line. While constant supervision isn't realistic for a teenager, the lack of emotional support and oversight is still a real concern. Judges often walk this tightrope, balancing independence with protection. And you can almost feel the tension in the courtroom here.
First, second, third, and he's not there in the morning, and he's not there when she gets home, and nobody's supervising her phone activities or computer activities or who's at the house and that kind of thing. That's problematic. But to suggest that a parent needs to be with her all the time at 15 years of age is impractical and, I think, unnecessary. I mean, that part of their goal is to start getting this child ready for independent living. But I can understand that this is quite an adjustment for her. But what is the concern about extended periods of time and the child either not being able to cope, being alone, or it lends itself to her not being properly supervised?
I think just from talking to my client that they have a close relationship and she feels isolated. I mean, she's feeling isolated if she's at home by herself and doesn't have friends come over or siblings. I think it's an isolation thing and it's just not mentally healthy. So I think she's texting texting my client to come. I think Wars one since she brought her McDonald's. I mean, she's obviously looking for that someone to interact with, and it's not. It's her emotional. I guess it's that factor under the statute. It's her emotional needs that aren't being met. If you wake up and you're responsible for getting yourself ready for the day, and you're 15, you have to go out to a bus, and then, I mean, kids need more emotional support than I think that at that age than what she's getting under the current circumstance. So it's really the emotional needs. My client's proposal is going to meet her emotional needs better.
Okay.
Exhibit I, we've got a photo of an unsecured firearm. We've got their exhibits. It's now it's now secured. It's great. Want the court to be aware, though, that it was probably our motion that caused that. So there's evidence, obviously, that wasn't the case, and so that's obviously a concern.
Can you tell me who the therapist is that she's seeing?
So what I understand is my client started her to see scheduled for her to see a therapist, and then the petitioner sent a message saying, "Hey, I wasn't invited," and my client thought she was going to get in trouble for scheduling it without him. So it's my understanding it never really took off.
Okay. Well, that irrespective of the parenting time, that's going to be a requirement of the court. I cannot take one parent's word as to the mental state of the child over another, and so I need somebody for her to talk to, but somebody objective to advise the court the issues that she's struggling with and the concerns that the therapist may have for her. And that's just helpful in these kinds of situations to have an independent third party that hopefully is a advocate for the child and can provide the court with some insight as well.
Boom. That's huge. The judge just floated selling the San Antonio house. Property division is one of the messiest parts of divorce cases, especially when equity is on the table. This could completely shift the financial picture for both parents.
Okay.
All right,
moving
go
on
ahead.
moving on to the next legal issue, spousal maintenance. The court's aware my client works 32.5 hours a week, earning $13.77 an hour. The ex parte order kicked her out of their marital residence, their house. And so the ex parte spousal maintenance right now is $1,000 a month. Ex parte child support's $83 a month. So she's getting $1,083 a month plus her income from her employment. It's just simply not enough to live in a reasonable accommodations. So we are asking for spousal maintenance to be increased. I looked at Dad's original domestic relations affidavit, and I think there were some errors. He filed an amended one, but I figured his ability to pay maintenance and child support was $2,405 per month, based upon his original domestic relations affidavit. He's since filed an amended one. He states that the mortgage is increased for the rental in San Antonio, and he has more expenses that he forgot to claim in his first affidavit. So he represents his ability to pay child support and spousal maintenance is $2,020 a month in his amended domestic relations affidavit.
And by ability to pay, it's what you believe is left over.
That's what I
pay everything that's left over.
That's what I'm reading. Because he's paying two mortgages. His pickup truck is $800 a month. The gas for that truck is $500. It's an extra large truck. So that's one of the issues. But yeah, the leftover amount from what he represents is $2,020. I calculated on his first affidavit for it to be $2,405.
Okay. Is your client opposed as far as the San Antonio? I'm not inclined to show income for him from the San Antonio property. I mean, if they can establish that, here's what we owe on the house, here's the mortgage payment, here's what we receive in rent, and any remaining money is put in some kind of auxiliary fund that neither one of them touch for repairs, insurance, everything associated with the house, until you guys can either litigate or come to some final resolution in the divorce. Is your client opposed to that?
I mean, I don't think she's opposed to that. I think the issue is that we are asking the court to find that the rental business is breaking even. That's per the tax return. The schedule, I can't remember which schedule it is. Let's see. It's in their exhibits. It's breaking even on the 23 tax return. The amended domestic relations affidavit, I think, represents it's operating at a loss of about 180 a month. So I don't think we're not asking for that to be extra income, and they're asking for it to be counted as operating at a loss. So that, and my calculations of his ability to pay.
Well, I think ultimately that house is going to have to be put up for sale, period. I would imagine. And so what I don't have before me, no one provided me with what they paid for it and what it is currently valued at. You know, until the last year and a half, when interest rates got high, real estate property was increasing in value exponentially. And so I don't know what they bought that San Antonio house for and what it's valued at, but if there's much equity there, the house is going to have to just be sold. I would think. So, okay, what else?
Well, Your Honor, we filed a domestic relations affidavit for mom. She needs to get her own place. She's living with a friend. That's Exhibit T, as in Tom. It's a statement from her friend. It's her friend and her friend's family. And she really wants to get her own place because she feels like she's, at some point she's going to overstay her welcome, right? So she needs to be able to get her own place. We've got her need at $4,174 a month to rent a 2-bedroom at $1,600 a month, and she includes expenses for her comfort in there and her DRA. But so we're just, the relief we're requesting is a combined amount of child support and maintenance at $2,405 per month. So however the court wants to slice and dice child support and maintenance, we're asking for the combined total to be $2,405 a month, so that all the extra money is going towards her that isn't needed for petitioner. And I want to remind the court that petitioner receives a basic allowance for housing and sustenance, and that's higher than what it would be if he's supposed, part of that's supposed to go towards my client. So I just want the court to look at the big picture here. So that's the relief that we're requesting.
I didn't quite understand the BOE allowance or how much he's getting, because I'm not sure how that was calculated into his income. But not sure I understand the allowances that he's getting for living off base. Can you tell me exactly how much he gets as an allowance above and beyond his salary?
Yes, let me look at the leaves and earnings statement. So Exhibit M as in Mary shows that the basic allowance for sustenance is $465.77 a month. And the basic
$465.77?
$465.77, yes.
For
basic allowance for subsistence, BAS.
Okay. What about housing?
BAH is $1,686 a month.
1,000 what?
$686 a month.
Okay. And what's the house payment again?
I'd have to look at the domestic relations affidavit. The court will give me a minute here.
And does he have any kind of disability rating at all? An extra income from any kind of disability rating?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
So the mortgage payment is $2,378 a month.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're just asking. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh,
Has she, I'll go ahead then. Has she, checked, where's the daughter going to school?
is it the Andover High School?
The Andover Central High School.
Andover Central High School.
Okay. And has she looked into apartments, condos, townhouses, houses? I mean, has she made a list? Has she looked at what's available for her and what the cost will be to put down a deposit or anything of that nature?
Have you looked at all?
I look some places.
Okay.
The apartment, I look at an apartment for 2 bathrooms. It's close, just close to the school. And then I look some houses too.
Okay. She's been looking. We put 1,600 in the domestic relations affidavit as a rough estimate. Is that?
Yeah.
She thinks it's a fair number.
Okay, so she's basically looking at apartments or duplexes then.
Yeah.
It's any house in Andover is going to rent for $2,000. But she's going to try to stay in the Andover area if she can.
I would assume so because she works there, and I mean, it'd be if she could. I mean, yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. What else? Let me go to your.
Next
your
legal issue. Yeah, next legal issue is child support. Current ex parte amount is with shared residency. I think dad's owing $83 a month. Both parties have submitted proposed worksheets. Both parties agree that dad's income is $8,733 a month, and that mom's income is $1,788. I believe the dispute is who should remain at shared residency or primary. So we're asking for it to be with mom designated as primary, which would bump child support up to $1,010 a month. So we're asking for that relief on child support. And I filed an amended worksheet on eFlex. So.
All right.
Second to last legal issue is vehicles. There's 4 vehicles. There's a 2018 Ford F-250, a 2018 Mitsubishi Lancer, and a 2021 Mitsubishi G4, and a 2006 Toyota minivan. The ex parte order grants father possession of the truck, the 2 Mitsubishis, and grants my client possession of the minivan. The issue is the minivan just has all kinds of problems. It's got bald tires. It shakes when it stops. The air conditioner here don't work. There's a windshield wiper motor broken, and the CV joints are leaking. So our motion asks for her to be able to drive the Mitsubishi. Now we've got the exhibit showing the cylinder head's been removed. My client's seen that Mitsubishi move around the driveway before, so with the cylinder head now removed, she's questioning if that was removed after the motion was filed. But irregardless, it's obvious that she can't drive that now. With all the repairs that the van needs, she's gonna need it in the shop for a while, and she's gonna get a rental car. So she's asking for a $3,000 judgment to be paid within 30 days for her to take the van to the shop and get the rental vehicle. The 2 other Mitsubishis are project cars for racing, apparently. So she needs a vehicle that's reliable and safe for the child. So that's our request of relief on the vehicle. The last legal issue is wife's request for attorney's fees. She's had to borrow $3,000 from a friend to retain our firm. I can tell the court that money's probably going to be all about used up with all the motion filing and preparing and all that. That's Exhibit S and T to show that she did in fact get a transfer from a friend for this. I mean, the husband's in the military. He's going to get a military pension at 20 years. That's going to be where all the retirement is. There's a little bit of money in the TSP. When I say a little, I'm talking about $17,600. My client needs money, to pay for representation because she needs to figure out how to calculate her portion of the military pension. That requires sending discovery to figure out the credible years of military service, rank, high 36 months of base pay. And then she probably needs to hire someone to do the math, and we call them an expert witness, but we've got a person in Florida that handles it. And we have a relationship with them. They can do that. But we need to get that done for her. And so we need to do discovery, and we don't know how much litigation there's going to be. So we are asking for a judgment of $8,000 to be paid the wife. And obviously the money's there in the TSP. The husband can make a withdrawal. So we'd ask for that to be paid within 30 days. And that's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. What about their position that the court doesn't have the authority during the temporary orders in the case to divide property? The court only has the legal authority to order the division of property at the final hearing.
Your Honor, I have to look at the temporary order in this case. Most cases I see the temporary orders state that you can dispose of marital property for reasonable living expenses or attorney's fees. So let me pull up the temporary order in this case.
Well, I think generally where it's been challenged is not when there's cash available, but where there are pensions or things that are tied up that have to actually physically be divided, or real estate, or things of that nature, the court making interlocutory orders to divide property. I think it's been suggested that that's not appropriate for the court to do. I mean, I'm not suggesting that you can't get some kind of order that he pays something or a judgment or it be included in spousal support or something like that. But I'm not sure I can start dividing up assets at the initial phase of the divorce itself.